So when is it time to leave a relationship? Now, this is something that you may have never thought about, but when you're in a relationship, there are telltale signs to see whether or not you should stay in this relationship or not. And in this video, I'm gonna give you 6 signs, a total of 6 signs of when you should leave a relationship. Now, if you guys are watching this, I would love to hear from y'all in the comments. So leave a comment and let me know, have you ever dealt with knowing or deciding or being indecisive of whether you should stay in a relationship or not? So go ahead and leave them comments and we're gonna talk about it right now. Now, again, this isn't something that we always think about when we get into a relationship. We don't always think about breaking up. We don't always think about when we should get out of a relationship. We're always thinking about how we can make things better or how we should stay in this relationship or how we should make things work. Many times you can get clouded, and I'm gonna use the word clouded in this because you're so caught up in how to make it work when there may be telltale signs that you just may need to let it go. And the first sign of when you should leave a relationship is when the relationship is emotionally and or physically abusive. Now, let's be clear. Abuse is never, ever a sign of love. Abuse is never a component to express any type of emotion, to be completely honest. Even if it is anger, like being abusive emotionally or physically is not a way to show somebody you care, you love them. Now, if you're constantly being belittled, meaning that this person that you're talking to is always talking down on you, make you feel less than, making them feel like they're the superior, you're inferior to them, and they have to bow down to you, and they're not really valuing you, or they're threatening you, manipulating you, or physically harming you. Those are all signs of abuse. And when you're experiencing that, it is safe to say you need to find an exit plan to leave that relationship. And what's the real significance in leaving an abusive relationship? Like, why should you leave an abusive relationship outside of the obvious? You have to really think about, if you're in an abusive relationship, where is this all coming from? Where is this stemming from? Why do you feel obligated to stay in this? And something you may need to observe just for yourself as an individual is, what does the relationships look like that you grew up in? Did you grow up in abusive relationships? Was your mother and father abusive to each other? Is this something that you see as a norm and you don't really see abuse as like an issue? You don't see physical harm and emotional harm and even spiritually being harmed as an issue. But to be completely honest with you, abuse is abuse, however way you want to frame it. And a lot of times we may not see abuse because it is packaged so well. You may say, oh, this person does a lot for me, but they're abusive, or they may pay all the bills, or they're very, supportive in other areas, but they're abusive to me. Now, this is a telltale sign that you do need to leave the relationship because you are experiencing abuse. You are experiencing abuse, whether you've seen it growing up, you don't recognize it. But if you're feeling those feelings that I mentioned, it is time to see and evaluate whether or not you need to be in this relationship. You probably more than likely need to leave that relationship and that person. The second sign is, and I see this a lot, is when you are losing yourself trying to save the relationship. You have literally become a whole different person trying to save this relationship. Now, in respect to evolving, trying to be a better person, trying to be understanding, that's not what I'm really talking about. I'm not talking about you trying to be a better person by saving a relationship, but you, at the essence of who you are, you have shrunk yourself. You have shrunk yourself in order to keep the peace. It's not, I'm growing, I'm trying to communicate more, I'm trying to be somebody else, I'm changing to this person for the positive, but you're just shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You may not say anything, and you may be a vocal person, or somebody doesn't like a certain thing, and you're just holding all this stuff in just for the sake of saving the peace. And you may feel like you're in a shell, literally like you're shrinking, you're putting yourself in a shell, and you're not the person that you used to be. You should love and grow with somebody, but when you're trying to grow with somebody, you don't want to grow out of the essence of who you are. Because now what happens in this dynamic is that you become an enabler to somebody else's bad behavior or abusive cycle or whatever it is, because you're losing yourself and you're making it seem like it's okay to that person because you lost yourself in it. You're not talking to your family, you're not talking to your friends, you're not talking to your peers. You're finding yourself to be really distracted at work. You can't really focus. And it may be time to reevaluate that relationship and leave that relationship if you find yourself lost as an individual and as a person. The third sign is that you're the only one trying. In relationships, especially when it comes to a relationship that needs a little bit more nurturing and needs a little bit more give to getting back to a more positive space, if you are the only one trying in that effort, it's probably a good telltale sign that it may be a good time to leave. It's not a good feeling when you're with somebody and you're trying to make a relationship work and that person isn't giving the same effort, because what happens is when you are trying to make something work and you're putting in all this effort and this person that you're with isn't putting in the effort, what happens is you have built up resentment. You're going to build up resentment. And sometimes with that resentment, it's going to come out in a way that you're not going to really expect, because you have so much built up within the relationship to where now it's like pointing fingers. Well, I'm trying and you're not. And you're playing a blame game and all those things. Like, that's cool. Every relationship has its rough patches without question. And, there is a point where you may have to change. You may have to put in the effort. But if you're consistently the only person putting in initiative, it can feel like a solo mission. It's like, hey, are we doing this together, or am I just trying to do this and I'm the only person that's putting some effort in, right? So with this, in relationships, it takes two. Both individuals need to conquer divided in order for things to work. If you feel like it's very one-sided and that person isn't getting any effort or hasn't really tried or doesn't have the really the same enthusiasm as you to make the relationship work, probably a good telltale sign that you need to reevaluate the situation that you're in the relationship and possibly move on. Now, the fourth thing is trust is gone and there's no rebuilding that trust. Trust can be rebuilt after it's been broken. I'm not going to say it's never rebuilt. Trust in relationships can be rebuilt, but only if both parties are willing to do the work. If both parties are willing to do the work, then trust can be rebuilt. Whether it's lying, cheatings, or betrayals that may have happened in the relationship. If it continues and there's no, if it happened a couple of times and okay, cool, now we're back in the space, haven't happened in a while. But if it's a pattern that continues to happen, then the trust is just literally gone, and the person that's being betrayed or the person that is causing the betrayal isn't changing, and the trust isn't being rebuilt on both sides, meaning the person that's been betrayed is doing the work to try to trust. And also the person that has betrayed the trust is also trying to prove to their partner that they can be trustworthy. On both sides, again, it takes both. It takes two. The trust is gone and is not being rebuilt. This comes with having honest conversations. Like, the truth of the matter is, if the trust is gone, there has to be a truth that there's no rebuilding this. I know it sounds ironic, but there has to be an honest reality that the trust cannot be rebuilt with this person, because there's no way that the person that's being betrayed can ever trust this person again. And we could also say, forgive and not forget, and we should always be forgiving and things of that nature. Like, you can forgive somebody and also not trust them. meaning that you can forgive somebody for what they've done to you, but also you're being wise and like, okay, well, me giving them another chance doesn't prove that I've forgiven them, to be honest. Forgiveness comes between you, for your own sake, and you're doing the forgiveness for you, but that doesn't mean that you would be undiscerning or like be a fool to get yourself in that situation again. So if the trust cannot be rebuilt, it would be a good time to see whether or not you need to stay in that relationship. And more than likely, it's probably time to end that relationship. The fifth sign is that your values and your goals are not aligned. Your values and goals are not aligned with future tense, meaning that the things that you guys have together, the things that you guys value on a more individual sake, you guys don't value those things together, right? Like you may have one value and your partner may have another value, and those values don't really mesh in when you guys are together, right? It may be okay with you or it may be okay with them, but it's not really going to be good for the long run. So for example, right? So there may be some thoughts about, okay, do we want to have kids? You may want to have kids and they don't want to have kids. You may have different values in faith and different religions. And, they may mock your religion because they believe in something else. And if those foundational things, especially when it comes to spirituality and faith and religion and all those different things, you cannot be in misalignment with that. That's something, just from me being a man of God, like that is very foundational, especially when you guys don't value the same faith. I've seen folks, come from different religions and different backgrounds and things of that nature. And, they have families and able to coexist and things of that nature. But that takes work. That takes work. And yes, it may be easier to be with somebody that is within your faith and, within your religion, things of that nature, because there's not a big conversation around it. But it's literally like when they're mocking you, and that's the part I want to get at, is when they don't value it, they don't respect it, then it may be time to reevaluate that relationship. One big thing that disaligns a lot of value in relationships is the question of, are you ready to get married? Somebody may want to get married right now. Another person may not want to get married right now. Your partner may want to get married at some point in time, but you don't ever want to get married at all. And, pretty much you're living in this situation where it's not a reality. It's not a reality for you guys to coexist and be married, right? Because that value of marriage is not aligned. The person that you're with, or you may think one thing and they may think another thing about marriage, and that's going to be in the relationship. And with all this, I would say this: when you're talking about your values and those values being aligned, do not use any type of manipulation to try to get somebody to value or see the things that you see as being valuable. Because if that's their core values, that's how they see the world. There may be some buying and things of that nature, but when you try to manipulate somebody to do that, it's not going to work. So if your values and life goals are not in line, then you would have to reevaluate the relationship and see if it's something that you need to continue to be in. Now, lastly, this is super important. If your peace is constantly being disruptive, telltale sign that it's probably time to go. It's probably time to leave the relationship if your peace is consistently being disruptive. Now, what do I mean by that? Like, what do I mean by your peace is being constantly disruptive? Now, when you think about your relationship, think about this. Does your relationship make you anxious? Does your relationship make you overwhelmed? Does it make you feel insecure? Does it make you not feel like a whole person? And if any of those things are happening, it's safe to say that your peace is being disrupted in your relationship. It is safe to say that your peace is being disrupted in your relationship, because now every time you're with this person, you're walking on eggshells. You know, your spirit is constantly at unease. You're constantly hyper aware of things. Like you may be triggered all the time while being in your relationship. Your body, but your body and your soul is telling you something different. Your body and soul is telling you that you need to get out of the situation. It is telling you that you can no longer be a whole person and be at peace if you're in this relationship. So if you ever had that feeling, most definitely do not ignore that feeling that you have with your body and your soul. Do not ignore that feeling or that voice in the back of your mind or God telling you and giving you those signals that, hey, it's time to love. It's time to go. It is literally time to go. So do not ignore that inner wisdom. Now, leaving a relationship is not easy, and it doesn't make you a failure at all. Like, in no means does leaving a relationship make you a failure. Trust, I felt like that before, having to leave relationships or a relationship ending, like I'm literally a failure. I literally cannot be in relationship. But sometimes the greatest act of love is for you to let go. For you to let go of something that is disrupting your peace, something that is being physically and emotionally abusive to you, something that isn't being an asset to you and taken away and just eating at you. The greatest love you can do for yourself is to let go. It's not to hold on and prove something to yourself and prove that you can make it work and prove that you can be in this relationship and prove that this person can change and I can change and we can make it work. Sometimes it's a matter of letting go, because when you let go, you're able to grow. But if you're holding on to something that's not meant to be held on to and is weighing you down, it's not going to give you the inner peace that you need. Point blank, period. And if you're struggling with this decision to stay, you're not alone. A lot of people struggle with this decision to stay. It's very, very common. It's more common than you ever probably imagine. Trust and believe, especially me in my practice. A lot of folks come to me and want to know, should they stay with somebody? Should they not stay with somebody? Obviously, as a therapist, we don't give advice like that. Like we don't say, hey, you need to stay with this person. You don't need to stay with this person. But what we offer is insight for you to make a wise decision. We offer, therapy can be a good tool for you if you're looking to make these decisions. Having a faith guide can be helpful. Reading your Bible, like having your faith community give you some insight and some wisdom on how to move forward with this person. So I have some other videos here y'all can check out in regards to mental health, faith, and relationships. If this resonated with you, y'all go ahead and check out these other videos right here. They're literally right here for you guys to check out. All right. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the great things to have these videos rocking and rolling. I appreciate y'all support thus far. Y'all take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Peace.